Topics for today, and I would like to welcome all of you, all the speakers, including Mr. Somveer Singh Anand. Please say hello, sir. Mr. Somveer Singh Anand. Probably he'll come in. He's a co-founder and CEO of Pinfresh with a vision of indoor vertical hydroponics. In every corner of India is what he wants to see that he can master that. And he is an entrepreneur. He was earlier a banker in Manhattan, and he started Pinfresh in 2017 to help people grow fresh vegetables right in the comfort of their home. He's an eminent TEDx speaker, and he's also appearing on Josh Talks. We also have Mr. Rahul Doka, who is who is basically the founder of Aqua Farms. He grew up in Chennai, graduated in industrial biotechnology from Anna University, later moved on to UK to complete his PhD, and he returned back to India from UK in 2010 and started Green Rush Organics. At Aqua Farms, the idea is to make hydroponic farming affordable, and he's also one of the TEDx speakers. So very warm welcome to you also, Mr. Rahul Doka. Kindly allow me to also introduce you, Mr. Manikandan. Hello.
Hello.
So Mr. Manikandan is Bangalore-based. He is also the founder of Hyperfarms and Garden Guru. And he is an expert who is known also as Geek Gardener, and the founder where he holds 10 years of experience in hydroponics and with the expertise in nutrient design and management. That's his forte, and he's author of leading urban farming blogs in India. So I think we have very interesting speakers. Kindly please also allow me to introduce Mr. Rupen Vikamse, who is our managing director of Orbit Exhibitions and Conferences. And we also have a vision to take these trending topics ahead and help you mentor and guide you in case you wish to actually get into this industry and business. Ruben, would you like to share some few words with the audience?
Thank you, Raju, for the kind introduction. And just to also like to thank all the speakers to accept our invite to be part of this interesting conference. The idea here is to bring in trending topics for people to get interested in new topics and provide more information, because they're experts who can share knowledge and everybody can gain knowledge from that. That's the whole idea. I'm sure everyone will have a good session today, and in case anybody is interested, we'll be having follow-up sessions planned after this session as well. So all the best to everyone. Thank you for joining in, and I wish all of you all the best. Thank you.
Okay. So I think basically today's concept of the conference is empowering minds to develop feasible urban farming solutions, turning business idea into practical and sustainable reality. So our first speaker, Mr. Somveer Anand, he is the co-founder and CEO for Pinfresh, and he's going to be speaking about basically step-by-step approach to determine best strategy for building your own hydroponics farm. In fact, he is by demand required on this stage, and he would basically share his knowledge and experience with us. So over to you, Mr. Somveer Anand. Just a second. I'll just try and get him. I think he is disconnected. Give me a minute. Meantime, I would also like Rupin just share a few words. Meantime, I'll just connect and come soon.
Yeah. Uh, Mr. Sumir Anand is a TEDx speaker, and yeah, there he is.
Hi guys, can you
So,
see me?
yeah. Sorry, I think we thought we lost you.
No, I was there. I was there. I could hear all the nice things people were saying about me. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
The stage is
Okay.
yours, Mr. Anand. Take over.
Okay. So first of all, hi everybody. It's a wonderful Friday morning at 11 o'clock and you all are watching a conference on hydroponics. So there has to be something that you're interested in, right? So what I'm going to try doing here is, first of all, I know everybody's from all over the country, so I'll speak in English. You can ask me a question, whatever language you want, I'm happy to answer them. The idea is कि जो आज की क्लास है जो 15-20 मिनट बात करने का है इट्स बेसिकली टू काइंड ऑफ गेट यू टू अंडरस्टैंड what a hydroponic business means. There are some great people on the panel, people who have learned from a lot, the garden guru and the gardener and so on. I mean, so they'll be able to give you a lot of information कि जो छोटे-छोटे नुस्खे होते हैं कैसे करने का है. But my job here is to tell you कि अगर आपने हाइड्रोपोनिक बिजनेस खड़ा करना है, you want to put a proper business. What's the way to get that done? Now, first thing I want to start off with is why should you get into a hydroponic business? I mean, what is the need to just get that thing shut off? I can't get it. Get the gutter shut off. I can't get it. Why should you get into hydroponic business? Then we go to how you should do it, and third is what you should grow and how you should grow a business. Pehli cheez. I don't want to get into why hydroponics is so good in India, but with the availability of land, कम हो रहा है. कोविड हो गया, सब सिटीज के अंदर बंद है, देयर इज नो फूड कमिंग फ्रॉम आउटडोर्स, व्हाट डू यू डू? दीस थिंग्स विल कंटिन्यू हैपनिंग. द फूड दैट यू गेट इज वेरी अनन्यूट्रिशियस टुडे. आई मीन देयर इज guys, is somebody's mic on? I can hear some honking. Is somebody on the road? Sorry. So I was saying that there is some amount of pesticide that's in your food. I don't want to harp on pesticides today. The reason I don't want to talk about pesticide is because वो बहुत सबको पता है खाना में pesticide है, right? The problem is not that the food is pesticide. The problem is that the amount of food which is reaching you is you have no idea what it has. आपको पता नहीं है इसमें pesticide है कि नहीं है. जो लोग organic बोलते हैं आधे तो झूठ बोलते हैं, आपको पता नहीं कि झूठ बोल रहा है सही बोल रहा है. There is a huge kind of gap. अगर आप हाइड्रोपोनिक्स करेंगे तो do it for the right reason. So let me start off now as to how to start with your hydroponic farm. There are great guys हैं जो आपको बताएंगे हाइड्रोपोनिक्स होती क्या है, पानी में उगाते हैं, कैसे उगाते हैं उसको, एक्वापोनिक्स कैसे करते हैं उसका, एरोपोनिक्स कैसे करते हैं. For today's class it is why start. So पहली चीज, आपकी जो खाने का सप्लाई है, आप एक फार्म नहीं लगा रहे हैं. You are not putting up a farm, you are putting up a factory. Hydroponics is not a farm. You are putting up a fully controlled IoT-led, automated factory. उसके अंदर you will know sitting today is the 17th of July. आपको पता होगा कि 2nd August को मेरे को कितनी लेटेस मिल रही है, मेरे को कितनी बेजल मिल रही है, मेरे को कितना रॉकेट मिल रहा है, so that you can plan your sales properly. That is what hydroponics is. It is not farming. जो ये बंदे हाइड्रोपोनिक्स में घुसते हैं, they come in for various reasons. तो मैं आपको पहले बताऊंगा हाइड्रोपोनिक्स में क्यों नहीं घुसने का है. पहली चीज, I've lost my job, या मेरा बिजनेस बंद हो गया. That is a terrible reason to get into hydroponics. मत करें. सेकेंड चीज, मेरे पास जमीन है जी, मेरे पास 2 एकड़ जमीन है, मेरे पास 3 एकड़ जमीन है, मेरे पास यहां जमीन है, वहां जमीन है. I want to get into hydroponics. That is a very bad reason to get into hydroponics. And the third reason, which is a very North India Delhi reason, is पापा कुछ तो लगा दो मेरे को कुछ तो करना है, फैक्ट्री लगा दो, एक हाइड्रोपोनिक्स की लगा दो. So then somebody sets up a hydroponic farm. Terrible reason to set up a farm. तो जो आपके ये reasons हैं ये सेटअप करने के लिए are very important. 3 reason, I've lost my job, मेरे पास जमीन है और पापा लगा दो. These are very bad reasons to start a hydroponic farm. Okay? So first, what are the good reasons to start a hydroponic farm? A good reason to start a hydroponic farm is कि आपको पता है कि ये local business है. कल आप हाइड्रोपोनिक के मुकेश अंबानी नहीं बनेंगे, कल आप नॉर्थ इंडिया के लेटेस्ट किंग नहीं बनेंगे। एंड द रीजन आप ये नहीं बनेंगे इज बिकॉज ये बड़ा लोकल बिजनेस है, राइट? ये अगर वडाला में हो रहा है तो वडाला में खा रहे हैं, ये अगर चेंबूर में हो रहा है तो चेंबूर में खा रहे हैं, मतलब इट इज अ वेरी वेरी लोकल बिजनेस। सेकेंडली, कैन यू स्टॉप डूइंग दैट, द टिप्स? Secondly, sorry, I got, secondly, आप ये क्यों कर रहे हैं? Yeah, just stop it, I can't hear anything. Secondly, I'm sorry, we have our workshop and our thing at the same place. Secondly, the reason why you're going to do it is because it's a great way to get into a client's home. आप आज एक बंदे को एक सब्सक्रिप्शन बॉक्स में कुछ बेच रहे हैं, राइट? आपने बोला ये लीजिए मेरा खाना, थैंक यू सो मच, और आप चले गए। आज इसको आप लेटेस्ट बेच रहे हैं, कल आप 10 चीजें और बेच सकते हैं। दैट इज अ वेरी गुड रीजन टू गेट इनटू हाइड्रोपोनिक्स। एंड द थर्ड वेरी गुड रीजन टू गेट इनटू हाइड्रोपोनिक्स इज कि आपका कुछ बिजनेस चल रहा है, और जो बिजनेस चल रहा है उसके अंदर हाइड्रोपोनिक्स यूज होगा। आप ऑर्गेनिक मिल्क करते हैं, आपका एक रेस्टोरेंट है, आपकी एक नर्सरी है जो पनीरियां बना रहे हैं, आपके पास एक कस्टमर सेंट्रिक बिजनेस है जिसके अंदर आप और कोई प्रोडक्ट देना चाहते हैं। दीज आर गुड रीजंस टू गेट इनटू हाइड्रोपोनिक्स। सो बेसिकली पहली चीज आपने सोचना है कि मेरे को ये क्यों करना है। आप अपने आप से सच बोलें, मेरे को झूठ बोले, सबको झूठ बोले, अपने आप से सच बोले कि मैं क्यों कर रहा हूं। अगर आप बोल रहे हैं कि मेरे पास मेरी नौकरी चलेगी इसलिए कर रहा हूं, तो ये आप जाने कि मैं इसलिए कर रहा हूं। सो व्हाई आर यू डूइंग हाइड्रोपोनिक्स? सेकेंड थिंग इज हाउ टू गेट स्टार्टेड, राइट? हाइड्रोपोनिक्स इज अ वेरी वेरी एक्सपेंसिव साइंस। आप एक चीज सोचें, आप एक पाइप ले रहे हैं, अच्छी सी पाइप जो एक काम आ सके किसी की, प्रॉपर सॉलिड पाइप, और उसमें मोरियां कर रहे हैं, और आप बोल रहे हैं इसमें मैं खाना उगाऊंगा, राइट? अगर कोई आप विलेजर को जाएंगे, हमारे यहाँ आप कोई पेंडू के पास जाएंगे और उसको बोलेंगे यार ये देखिए पाइप ले, उसमें मोरियां कर दे और यहां से पानी वहां करेंगे और उसमें खाना उगाएंगे, तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट इज the idea for telling you this कि आप अगर कोई asset बना रहे हैं तो this is an asset breaking exercise, not an asset making exercise. You're taking really good equipment and buggering it up and then trying to say that I will use this to grow food. First thing. Second thing, hydroponics is a very, like I said, expensive science. ये आपको अगर 1 एकड़ का करेंगे and you get it done by a really awesome Dutch company, not by us, poor more models over here, by some fancy Israeli company or some fancy Dutch company. These guys charge between 4 to 5 crore rupees for an acre to set up a hydroponic plant. If you have 5 crore rupees, put them in a bank, live off the interest, go live in a Goa, go live in a Pondicherry, enjoy your life. Because at 5 crore rupee investment, without any idea of how I'm going to monetize this investment, you're going to fail. I've seen hundreds of farms shut down. Once again, my job here is not to say कि मत करिए. My job is to say कि अगर करना है, let's do it the proper way, intelligently. There is a way to start growing. The way is कि you have a plan in your mind. कि मेरे मन में एक प्लान है कि मैंने हाइड्रोपोनिक्स में लेटस उगा के बेचनी है, ये मेरा प्लान है। मैं बॉम्बे में रहता हूं, मैं दिल्ली में रहता हूं, मैं डिफेंस कॉलोनी में मेरा घर है, वहां पर एक मेरे पास खाली जगह है, मैं वहां उगा के सबको बेचूंगा, ये मेरा प्लान। नाउ अगर आपके पास एक सॉलिड प्लान ऐसा है, देन लेट्स मूव टू द सेकंड स्टेप, व्हिच इज एक प्रूफ ऑफ कॉन्सेप्ट सिस्टम। A simple proof of concept system should not cost you more than 30-40,000. ये आप खुद बनाना है, खुद बनाएं। YouTube is full of videos, and I'll come back to YouTube videos at the end. But YouTube is full of videos of how to make your systems. Get one system started. एक system बनाएं, उसमें आप महीने का 6, 8, 10 kg उगाएं और उसको बेचें। Right? So you've done a proof of concept कि मैं आज 10 kg उगा के बेच रहा हूं, कल मैं 2000 kg करूंगा, लेकिन आज 10 kg में मेरे 10 रुपए बनने चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर नहीं बनेंगे तो 2000 में भी नहीं बनेंगे। So that is the way. There is no scale in this business. Then it's not like a Swiggy or a Zomato कि आज हम दिन का 1 करोड़ रुपए गवा रहे हैं, hopefully in 10 years we'll make that money back. Hydroponics is not like that. ये एक business है. This is actual work. आप जो सवेरे को डाल रहे हैं, शाम को निकाल रहे हैं. It is a very very simple business. You've got a proof of concept. So you've got an idea. आपने उसका proof of concept एक छोटा system लगाया है. Now, before I go further on this, let me explain to you that hydroponics is not a growing business. Hydroponics is a selling business. So I heard a lot of people say that you're a tomato farmer or you're a lettuce farmer and you're using hydroponics to help you grow tomatoes, you're using hydroponics to help you grow lettuces. In India, it's very different. In India, we are hydroponic farmers. कि हमने hydroponic plant लगाया हुआ है जी, हमारा एक कमरा है, उसमें हम कुछ भी उगा सकते हैं, लेकिन hydroponic के through ही उगा सकते हैं. So hydroponics is not a growing business. Your capacities can increase, decrease, वो variable होती हैं. You are a selling business. अगर आपकी sales नहीं होंगी, आपका कुछ नहीं होगा. That's the thing I want to talk about. Second to last is about how to get your sales done. So again, you've got a proof of concept. You're taking out certain amount of money. You're taking out certain amount of produce. आपने उस produce का क्या करना है? आपको जैसे ही वो आप proof of concept लगाएंगे और उससे उगा रहे हैं, तो 3 चीजें होंगी. पहली चीज जो आपकी होगी, आपको उगाना आएगा. There are very few people in this country who know how to grow properly. You will be able to grow properly. Hydroponics is like cycling or swimming. अगर आप साइकिल के ऊपर चढ़ेंगे नहीं और 5-6 बारी गिरेंगे नहीं, आपको कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा क्या हो रहा है. You cannot learn swimming from YouTube. You have to get into the pool. You have to, don't drown, but you'll have to, somebody will kind of help you, put you back up and you'll swim a little bit. And that's the only way to get this business started. Now, if you're going to be doing this on a 5 crore rupee investment or even a 40 lakh rupee investment, आपको रात को नींद नहीं आएगी, I guarantee you that. Because अगर आप 40 लाख पे सीख रहे हैं, it's like doing an MBA from ISB, where the fee is 40 lakh rupees and you're going through the entire, कि मैं सीख. That's not the way to go about it, right? You have to learn at a very small level. तो आपको उगाना आ जाएगा. आपको बोल रहे हो कि अगर मैं ये 200 प्लांट उगा सकता हूं, I know exactly what I'm doing. Second is, आपको इसकी कॉस्ट समझ आ जाएंगी. बिकॉज आपको जो भी बंदा इस दुनिया में एक्सेल शीट बना के देगा, देयर इज अ एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम कॉल्ड एन MBA, राइट? एवरीबडी नोज व्हाट एन MBA is. An MBA is basically teaches you how to do 2 things. एक तो make unbelievable presentations and B, make such superb Excel sheets कि किसी को कुछ समझ नहीं आ रही हो कि मैंने क्या हो रहा है इस Excel sheet में, right? So our idea is that if we are going to be doing a project where somebody is giving us a presentation and giving us an Excel sheet saying कि यार आपके 8 महीने में ब्रेक इवन है, आपका 6 महीने में पैसे बन रहे हैं, आप 2 साल में फरारी ले रहे हो, if someone is giving you these kind of metrics, don't trust them. Because it is their job to give it to you. It is my job to sell you something, right? ये मेरा काम है, ये इससे मेरा कंपनी चलता है. So I want you to grow on a small level, जिससे आपको उगाना आ रहा है और बी आपको कॉस्ट समझ आ रही है. यार अगर मैं एक बीज डाल रहा हूँ तो मेरा बीज का कॉस्ट ये है, मेरे 8-9 बीज मर जाते हैं, मेरे 3-4 घी लेते हैं, फिर उसको मैं उठाता हूँ, मेरे को एक बंदा चाहिए उठा के इसको यहाँ से यहाँ रखेगा, उसको उगाएगा. So there is a whole process involved. I'm not going through the process right now, but एक पूरा प्रोसेस होता है, उसकी हर चीज की एक कॉस्ट होती है. So you will have an understanding कि मेरा कॉस्ट इतना है कि अगर मैं 1 kg उगा रहा हूं तो मेरे को 80 रुपए पे उग रहा है. Now that is very important for you to know, and it is very important for you to know is because your entire health of your plant depends upon that. When I say plant, I mean your health of a hydroponic system depends upon that. क्योंकि if you are selling at if you're growing at 80 rupees and you're selling at 75, you're finished, right? But if you're growing at 80 rupees, you have the ability to sell at 81 also and still make money. So it's very important to know आपकी costs क्या है. उगाना आ गया, cost समझ आ गई. The third and the most important thing is आपको sales समझ आ जाएंगी. Because if you cannot sell this produce, you are nothing and you are no one. Trust me that no one cares आपने इसको कैसे उगाया when you go and throw your food in the मंडी. आप मंडी में बेचेंगे, no one cares. Secondly, आप एक commoditized product बेच रहे हैं. आपके hydroponic lettuce में और मेरे hydroponic lettuce में कोई ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं है. Nobody cares in the end कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं. So if you are going to, if we have 10 of us who have plants in the nearby area, we all have to find another way to sell it. There are 3 major ways to sell it. The first is a B2C subscription service, which is very hot right now. आप एक directly client को बेचें. इसमें सिर खपाई सबसे ज्यादा होती है. It is a very, very high headache business, but it's the most profitable business to run. The second thing that you have to do is you have to sell B2B2C, which basically means you pack your own food in your own packages with your own branding, with your own kind of labels, and you go and give those to, I would say, medium to high-end shops in and around your locality and try selling there. Iske andar your margin will be less because you're giving some margin to the retailer, but the most important thing is that you will have the ability to get rid is not the right word, but to sell a large part of your produce at the same time. So you can use an aggregator, you can use different types of sales channels कि आप खुद जाके इसको बेचें and so on. The third and the worst part is to give to restaurants and hotels. Because everyone thinks restaurants and hotels are great. Well, in my view, they are absolutely the worst kind of guys to sell it to. एक तो सैंपल ले लेके मतलब वो 3-4 महीने तो आपके सैंपल से ही निकाल देंगे एंड उसके बाद they pay in 6-8 months and there are problems. So worst case is go to restaurants and hotels. Sorry. The other thing that we are going to do now is the other thing that we're going to do now is we're going to talk about how to grow. So a lot of questions people ask me, and a lot of the times people ask me questions and they're like, क्या उगाएं? Lettuce उगाएं, पालक उगाएं, rocket उगाएं, क्या उगाएं? This is an iterative process. अगर आप किसी से समझेंगे कि क्या उगाऊं, क्यों उगाऊं, नहीं आएगा. Right? This is a great side business, but it doesn't have to start off as a side business. I mean, you have to start it off as a primary business. कि ये मेरे को करने का है. For that, you need to know क्या उगाना है. Can you provide low potassium lettuce to diabetic patients? Right? Can we provide high iron palak, spinach, Swiss chard to geriatrics or patients or pregnant mothers or people with hemoglobin issues? So these are the things of what you can grow. Can I just grow lettuce? या अगर मेरा प्लांट रोहतक में है तो यहाँ तो लेटस कोई खाता ही नहीं है. Can I just grow palak or can I just grow bok choy? मतलब you have to understand what you are going to grow, and no one can tell you this. If someone is telling you कि I'll explain to you what to grow, he doesn't know. He does not understand that this is a local business. It depends on where you are. If you're in Nungambakkam, you're going to be selling in Nungambakkam. If you're in Alleppey, you'll be selling in Alleppey. If you're in Delhi, you'll be selling in the Defense Colony in Delhi, right? It's a local business. You have to be very clear. There's no scale in this. आप एक प्लांट लगाएंगे, एक प्लांट लगाएंगे, फिर आपको दूसरा प्लांट लगाना, आप उसको बड़ा नहीं कर सकते, आपको कहीं और प्लांट लगाना पड़ेगा. Large scale hydroponics in a country like India, in my view, will not work because 1 acre का farm है जी, about 1.5 hours away from Delhi. They can't supply to anyone because they can't grow in the winter. Sorry, they can't grow in the summer. Winter में उगाते हैं. Winter में everybody North India is growing lettuce. So why will anyone buy your lettuce? तो आप कह रहे हो मेरा clean है. The amount of people who want to buy clean food is this. Can you see the gap between my fingers? That's the number of people as a percentage of a population who will buy clean food. And the reason why they will not buy clean food is because it's expensive and they don't trust you. So be very clear कि आपने business क्यों करना है, इसको कैसे करना है, इसको कौन से reasons के लिए करना है और कहाँ करना है. Based on these things, you'll be able to understand मैं उगाऊं क्या और कैसे उगाऊं. I have 5-8 minutes left. I'm going to quickly come to two really important things. The first one is the role of consultants. All of us are consultants, right? You will have hundreds of consultants who reach out to you. Some consultants will be really good. Some will be just the worst plumbers in the world. You have to figure out कि जो consultant है ना, उसका पैसा आपके पास नहीं लगा हुआ. I am not going to lose anything if you don't make your business a success. In fact, I'm going to make a lot more money if your business is not a success because you want to keep on hiring me. So when you look at a consultant, you have to look at a consultant and have two things in mind. The first thing is मेरे को क्या नहीं करना है और मुझे ये नहीं करना है कि मैं उसको बोलूँ ये मेरी जमीन, ये रहा मेरा पैसा और तू लगा प्लांट और तू मेरे को हर महीने पैसे दे. ये नहीं करना है. Rental economies are dead. We are not going to be able to sit back and say somebody else will make money for me and give it to me. Rental economies are dead. All right? So what a consultant should do is a consultant should be like an IIT or an IIM. He should come in, explain to you, essay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are the steps to do. If you get stuck in step 2, step 3, step 4, these are the remedies. और अभी आप खुद करें. That is what a consultant should do. He should spend not more than a month with you for that information exchange to happen. क्योंकि अगर उसके बाद वो रहेंगे, अगर मैं रहूंगा तो मैं पैसे कमा रहा हूं, आप नहीं कुछ कमा रहे. Your plant is literally not going to make you any money. Before I sign off, I want you to keep a couple of things in mind, right? The first thing I want you to keep in mind is hydroponics is not an Indian science. ये 28 डिग्री के ऊपर बंद हो जाती है. Above 28 degrees Celsius, the entire technology fails. So if you're going to do it in the summers outside, you have to be very clear how you're going to cool the area. आप उसको ठंडा कैसे करेंगे? आप 40 डिग्री में, if you're growing at 45 degrees heat outside, how are you growing? How are you cooling the area? It is a winter science, it's not a summer science. Above 28, you cannot grow. So I want you to keep these things in mind. The second thing in mind is all of us. We all live in a very poor country. Our country, India, is a poor country. और जो आप उगा रहे हैं, आप अमीरों की सब्जियां उगा रहे हैं. You're growing food which only the rich in this country consume. You're not growing food which 80 to 90% of our population consumes. So if all of us are growing food for the rich, and we are getting more and more and more plants on which are only catering to the rich, your market will shrink faster than you know it. So be very clear about that when you're starting a business. And the third thing I want to tell you is that a lot that I told you, I talk about YouTube videos in the end. आप सबने YouTube वीडियोस देखी हैं हाइड्रोपोनिक प्लांट की, एंड यू आर अमेज्ड. आप कह रहे हो कि यार वो तो 18 फीट ऊपर है, उसमें 20-30 तो वो लेवल्स हैं, वहां पर एक रोबो की आर्म जाती है, उसको ऐसे वह कैमरा लगा हुआ है ओवर एवरी प्लांट, रेड लाइट्स, ब्लू लाइट, डिस्को बनाया हुआ है अंदर, तो एंड इट्स अ कंप्लीट ब्यूटी, राइट? द रीजन इज वो लोग गांजा उगा रहे हैं. They are growing marijuana. Marijuana is legal in the West. You grow it in India, you'll be in jail. But they are growing marijuana, right? Now they can afford to put $100, $200, $300, $400 behind every plant in fixed cost. क्योंकि उनका प्लांट $1000 का बिकता है. हम लेटेस उगा रहे हैं, हमारा प्लांट 10 सेंट का बिकता है. So we cannot go in with that kind of technology. If you are going to make your system stack up more than your arm can reach, you'll have to invest in a lift. Or you'll have to invest in a pair of stairs. अभी आप बोलोगे सीढ़ी तो खरीदनी है, मैं सीढ़ी खरीद दूंगा. You don't understand. अपने सीढ़ी खरीदी, वो एक बंदा आएगा जो ऊपर चढ़ेगा. वो अगर 100 बारी ऊपर चढ़ेगा, एक बारी गिरेगा. वो जहां गिरेगा वो टूटेगी चीज. ऊपर से वो प्लांट उठाएगा, जैसे उसने प्लांट उठाया पानी गिरेगा सारी प्लांट में, उसको सफाई करेगा. डू यू हैव द एबिलिटी टू पे फॉर ऑल दैट? यू डोंट, बिकॉज आप वो प्लांट नहीं उगा रहे जिसके आपके पैसे मिले. सो बी वेरी क्लियर व्हेन यू आर लुकिंग एट यूट्यूब वीडियोस. मेरे फादर हमेशा कहते थे कि दूसरी के थाली में ना लड्डू बड़ा ही दिखता थोड़ा. तो आई डोंट वांट यू टू थिंक कि वो वहां ऐसे कर रहे हैं, हम यहाँ ऐसे नहीं कर रहे, हम तो फेलियर हैं. आप बाहर अपने ग्रीन नेट्स में उगाएं, आप बैम्बू पोल्स लगा के उगाएं, दे ऑल वर्क. जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट वर्क्स फॉर यू. इफ यू आर सेटिंग अप अ सिस्टम कि लोग आके देखें और तब खरीदें, make a system look awesome, paint it, wood finish it, bamboo it, put some fancy stuff around it, because that's what sells. अगर आप अपना प्लांट रेवाड़ी में या इटवा में कर रहे हैं जहां किसी ने कभी आना ही नहीं है, तो आप उसको पेंट करें ना करें, doesn't make a difference. आप बाहर करें अंदर करें, फ्लोर को बजरी लगाएं, उसमें टाइल लगाएं, no one cares. At the end of the day, this is a business. It is like any business. It reminds me of the solar business in India. क्योंकि जब solar business आया था, everyone thought, what a great business, यार, ये तो we are going to kill it. And what? At least in my city, maybe 200 people have joined that business, right? And in 5 years, it was kind of over because subsidy stopped. So you have to be very clear कि अगर आप कर रहे हैं, remember there are 10 other people जो आपके आसपास बैठे हैं, वो भी कर रहे हैं. So speed is there, and there has to be certain amount of thought process में क्यों कर रहा हूँ, क्या कर रहा हूँ. And before I end, I want to talk about something slightly more spiritual. These businesses talk to you. I was doing something very different in my life. मैं बिल्कुल कुछ और कर रहा था, and I was very happy. I was much richer than I am, but I was very happy also. These businesses speak to you. They become a part of your life. So अगर आप कुछ उगा रहे हैं, किसी चीज का ख्याल रख रहे हैं, these are cosmically beautiful things to do. So have it in your mind कि आप खाना उगा रहे हैं, आप जूते नहीं बना रहे, आप कपड़े नहीं बना रहे, आप लेसेस नहीं बना रहे. So have a little bit of happiness inside you that you're doing something good if you're going to do this. I don't want to take more time. I let people ask me questions in case there are. This entire thing, what I try to do is try to explain to you that there is a why to grow, kyun, there is a how to grow, kaise, and there is a things not to do. If you can get all of these down on a piece of paper, me and I'm sure everybody else will be happily take you through why you should do it, why you should not do it. These are our simple decisions to make. Don't get into large scale plants without understanding why. But don't invest 40-50 lakh rupees, क्योंकि आप invest करेंगे 40 लाख तो मेरे पैसे बन जाएंगे सर आपके, right? Understand क्यों करना है, कैसे करना है, कहाँ बेचना है. Get these things worked out and then we'll scale it up. So thank you so much. Thanks guys. And I will let Raju take over now.
Sure. Okay, so I think that was a very interesting session from Mr. Somveer Singh Anand. I think it was straight from the heart with a lot of practical experience that you hold behind you, and I'm sure it will give our viewers a good chance to understand before they actually want to get into it either as a hobby or probably as a commercial setup. But I'm sure there will be hand holding in terms of training or consultancy if you really wish to go, so that you don't go wrong and you are actually guided by the people who holds this experience. So with this, viewers, I have a small request. In case you have liked Sombi sir's session, kindly please, there is a thumbs up below, and if you can probably give that if it has been interesting for you. So with that, we will now have our second speaker, Mr. Rahul Doka, who is the basically the founder and CEO of Aqua Farms. He's going to be talking about necessity and benefits of urban farming in form of hydroponics. So over to you, Mr. Rahul Doka. We are happy to have you, and the stage is all yours. We can't hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Rahul. I've just been introduced. I'm from Chennai and I'm into hydroponics from the last 3.5 years. Something that started off as an hobby is now my full-time job. And it was not a job just selected because, I wanted to find an alternate career activity or, something to make my income off. But it basically came out of necessity, something that led me to hydroponics. So initially I was into organic farming, and I lost my farm, and there were a lot of problems where I had to face because it was very difficult to manage the pest and the climate and the water conditions. So today I'm going to explain everyone the necessity and benefits of hydroponics in an urban scenario, in an urban stage, and why it is necessity. so basically, what I'm going to start off with is talking about the current scenario we are in, and why we should probably practice hydroponics to, for the betterment of our own situation. So, current situation, about the first thing I would like to say about is the population. Like in India, the population grows in 2019 with a rate of 1.08%, adding around 1.5 crore people every year. And, being the biggest democratic country in India, we're still facing a lot of shortage of food and, a lot of food security issues. The second would probably be the availability of land and second generation farmers. Like today, the agriculture land that is there is reduced by a great extent every day because of the urbanization and the industrialization. And also, it's very difficult to find second generation farmers today because all of them, everyone who were there in the farming earlier want to move on to urban spaces and, want to do something different than what, the grass is always green on the other side. The third major issue I would probably like to address is the lack of water. Like India is already in a deficit of water. Talking about the major states, like where I come from in Tamil Nadu, our agriculture, around 80% of it is completely based on the monsoons, which are also erratic, and the failure of weather is a major crisis here. So 80% of our farming and agriculture is dependent on the monsoons. Then probably another reason I could say a very important one is the climate change, like incessant rainfalls or droughts everywhere, and rains getting delayed causes the farmers a lot of problems, and they end up committing suicide because they're not able to maintain their land, and they're not able to fulfill their requirements. So that is one of the major security areas that we are lacking in. And then of course, like Sombir sir said, that the amount of pesticides that are there on the food, it is unimaginable. Like interacting with farmers on a everyday basis, we come to realize that the amount of pesticides that are used in it is completely, not even in a tolerable level. And also, growth promoting hormones are injected into food, your edible vegetables and greens, apart from the meat that we purchase from outside. So even that causes a lot of hormonal imbalances, and it creates a lot of problems, and it's very carcinogenic. And another problem what our food security faces today in India is unsustainable irrigation practices. And basically, we are using the same kind of method where we are leaving so many liters of water onto the ground, and there is no controlled manner to it. And also, if you're talking about water productivity perspective, what it means is basically now the water deficit states like Tamil Nadu is one of the highest producers of sugar, wherein states like UP and Bihar, which have a lot of water, should be doing that. So our agriculture practices also are not very, precise and good. And the last one probably would be transportation and logistics. Like, we face a major problem in logistics and transportation. Like, just for a record, like, India produces around 150 billion tons of vegetables and greens annually, and around 20% of it goes for a waste because of bad, storage facilities, and majority of it is lost in transportation. So these are the few issues that we face on an everyday basis, and they really, speak about our current scenario, and it is a major threat to our food security. Why I would suggest someone to get into hydroponics is, I could basically solve or give a solution for all the problems that I've said. And let me start by the population. Like, now that since the land is reducing tremendously due to the urbanization, we are finding a big shortage of good land for growing our greens and your vegetables, and for horticulture. So basically, with hydroponics, what advantage we have is, if you're using one of the techniques like the NFT system, which is growing plants in the pipes, channels. So basically, we can scale them up vertically, and from the same same area of footprint area of land, we could produce around 10 times to 20 times more amount of food there. So, for a growing population, this is very necessary, because on an everyday basis, we have 40,000 mouths to feed. And, growing vertical would be the only solution in future, because we are we are reducing the amount of land that we have by all the urbanization and the growing population. And the one more advantage of hydroponics is that you don't need agriculture land for this, and this is independent of where you can grow. You can grow it inside, you can grow it indoors, you can grow it in your terrace, your balconies. That it's right available at your doorstep, so you don't really have to search for an agriculture land if you really wanted to do hydroponics. So that is one of the major advantages of that, and that helps us in urban farming. And to address the issue of water shortage that we face, like, it is a fact that hydroponic uses around 90% less water than your conventional farming. And for example, if you were growing lettuce in soil, just to mention lettuce, it takes around 115 to 120 liters to grow 1 kg of lettuce. But in hydroponics, that can be reduced to just around 20 to 25 liters, and that is a considerable amount of water that is being saved in a precise manner. So it also addresses the problems that we face because of water. Like, Tamil Nadu, from where we come, like, water is as precious as gold. It is, we consider it more precious than petrol or diesel. And another advantage of hydroponics would be that it is unaffected by climate change, since we are growing it indoors, or since we are doing it in a controlled fashion by controlling the outside parameters like climate and temperature by building polyhouses, or doing it in shipping containers. There are a lot of countries where they grow it indoors in malls and abandoned ships. So basically, it is independent of the climate change, whether it is raining outside or whether it is 45 degrees, like talking about extreme climates of just Delhi. or Chennai, from where I come, like either it is raining extremely or it is extremely hot, above 40 degrees. So, the climate change can be addressed. The problem of climate change, I would say, hydroponics is still somewhat less affected than your conventional farming methods. So that is another advantage and reason I think you should shift to urban farming. And like sir again mentioned that there is a lot of automation involved in this, like the large scale farms that are there. There is a lot of automation that can be controlled. A lot of parameters like your humidity, your temperature, and maintaining your pH and TDS, and lowering the pH. All of this can be maintained using automation, and on a large scale, usually which is preferred. It gives us a very precise amount of yield, and you can control your growth and hence your productivity. And again, when you're growing it in an urban space, the transportation and logistics costs are reduced a lot. So if you're planning to go hyper local, that is the best way to go ahead, because you're reducing the middlemen, you're reducing, the logistic charges which are there. And at the same point of time, you would be able to give nutritious food to your customers, or even grow it for yourself, because at the moment the food that usually comes from the markets, like by the time it reaches your plate, it is already 2 or 3 days old, and it has lost all its texture, it has lost all its taste and the nutritional value too. So if you're going to grow hyper local, then you can definitely expect the freshest of the product and with high nutritional value to it. So urban farming, I think, would be a very good way to answer the problems. Again, when it comes to urban farming, I mean, there is a very minimal labor that is required. Like, if you were growing plants just for yourself, then one person is enough to grow the complete plants and requirements for your family. Or if you're looking on a commercial scale, then around two people would be just enough to manage around 5-6 thousand plants, and it would require very minimal labor to it. And unlike conventional farming, which requires a lot of soil tilling, and there is mulching required, there is a lot of replenishments that you have to do, and by giving out all the fertilizers and the nitrates which go into the soil, cause a lot of problem to the soil. So this could be avoided when you're doing urban farming. And basically, you can avoid your tilling, mulching, weeding, and there is no longer any back-breaking work. Like, I don't, expect, or I wouldn't really believe if somebody said that they can do an acre of farming, and the amount of back-breaking work that goes through is completely unimaginable. We don't know the difficulties the farmers face. So urban farming gives us an opportunity to do it in a very controlled manner, and you will be able to manage your plants pretty well just by yourself. So what we do is, like, we've also incorporated a company last year in January, and we're providing systems all over India. And what we are doing is we are facilitating people to grow their food. We are encouraging people to grow their own food at their doorstep, and that is the first step. Even if you want to go commercial, you're definitely supposed to look at a pilot scale, or get some experience with growing your own plants first. And after 2-3 consistent harvests, and after you're a little more confident and when you have understood the complete parameters, you can definitely go in for a large scale. So yeah, basically we launched this company called Aqua Farms last year, and it was just based on three principles. One principle was to save water, because, like I mentioned, from where I come, water is very precious. And the second thing was to provide chemical-free food. Like, the amount of oxytocin and the amount of chemicals that go inside the food is really harmful. And and the third principle we started was to reduce the carbon footprint. So we encourage people to do urban farming, and at least whatever extent they can produce for themselves. It, even a small way goes a long way. So yeah, like I would encourage everyone here also to try out some form of hydroponics. It doesn't matter whether it is a DWC method, whether it's an NFT method, or it's an ebb and flow, or whatever method that you want to follow. It could be at any scale. It could be at any stage. All that you have to do is try your hands on it, because we get a lot of calls also on an everyday basis saying that we are following hydroponics from a very long time, and people always end up looking at the commercial side of it but not their own benefits. Like I always tell my friends that you should wear a helmet, not because a cop is going to catch you ahead at the next signal, but you should wear a helmet because it is for your own safety. So if you're just going to look at the commercial aspects, and like sir mentioned, like the Excel sheets, the MBA people are, I mean, they can just mind boggle you, and you will be like, this is the business that I want to get into, and it is just a sales speech. But again, what I would urge people is to start small, start it in their own house, and get the concept right. And once you've got a foolproof concept, and once you know who your clients are, then you should go on to a bigger scale. And even the post harvesting of the produce is really important. Like hydroponics is like setting up a factory, like sir mentioned, and basically it is like if you get the science is going to you're going to get your produce because science is going to do its work. But also what you have to consider is the post harvesting sales. So that is something that many people miss out on, and the judgment is clouded just by the numbers that they see, that if I have a 10,000 plant system, if I'm going 10,000 plants, and every month if I'm selling each plant for 20 rupees, then I'm making 2 lakhs. And people get this weird kind of concept, but they are not told about the dark secrets, like the things that are involved, the post harvesting sales. And you will like the reason now, if you see the vegetables are so expensive, is because people have made so much of investment in this, and they are trying to break even. So getting into hydroponics with the concept of making money instantly or something would not be the right approach. But the right approach would be is to first learn the concept, and get acquainted with the entire technique, and then create a supply chain which would do a betterment for your society or for the people staying around. Like you could just cater to the building that you were staying in initially to begin with, and start off with small segments and then take it ahead. So yeah, this is it what I have for today, and I hope it was informative. And I would once again urge everyone to start hydroponics in whatever way they can, even in a small way, and try your hands out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rahul Doka. I think it was really interesting. And viewers, once again, in case you have liked his, session, kindly please give a thumbs up for him, and really very appreciated. And I would now like to welcome. I think sorry to also say that there is some people who are wanting to ask questions on the top. We have a question answer session in the text. Kindly please type in your question. Towards the end of the session, we will address it and we will pick some of the questions. And also if possible, you can also raise a hand, and you can actually come on stage with the speaker if you want, and you can interact with the speaker for 5 minutes if it is required. So we are happy to connect you with that. But in the meantime, kindly please put up your questions in the text, which is available on the right hand side on the top. So now we are on our third session with Mr. Manikandan, who is the founder for Hyper Farms and Garden Guru. And his topic is equally very interesting. It's something that I think also somebody who is probably looking at setting up a hydroponic farm as a hobby or at the commercial level. We will have that hearing from him. Basically, it's adoption on hydroponics farm if somebody wants to put it up as a hobby or as a commercial entrepreneur. So over to you, Mr. Manikandan. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Laju. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks Rahul and Somveer. Somveer kind of gave a very good why get in, why not to get in, and Rahul also setting the context right. And after these two talks, I'm glad I'm not an MBA. Okay, so with that, I'd like to get started. So I'll give a brief introduction about myself. Um, from beginning, I'm always passionate about plants and agriculture. From third or fourth grade, I started growing plants, mostly vegetables. I'm coming from the city of Chennai, so water is scarce. Everything was difficult to grow high temperature. So my mind was always focused on growing with constraints. So nothing was available easily. And until 2008, of course, I was working in the software background. And when I realized I should restart the whole thing, and no information was available in the internet, so I decided to put up a blog together so that it can help people in the Indian context to get started on gardening or farming for that matter. Because most of the web material would say, go to Walmart, pick up your peat moss mix. We don't have Walmart here, definitely not in 2000. Back then, they were also importing a lot of materials with respect to hydroponics from European companies. So a source for hydroponic inputs in India was missing. So I took that an opportunity to create a brand called Garden Guru. So we floated our first online hydroponic store in India, as well as a walk-in store in 2012. And again, due to demand, people started asking us to set up a farm for them. And then gradually, with size, we grew to what we call ourselves now, hyper farms. So with Garden Guru, we really cater to all urban home gardening segment. And with hyper farms, we look at commercial large scale segment purely for business purposes. Okay, so now that my introduction is out of the way, I'll start with the presentation. Yes. So we all know what is the definition of hydroponics, and it's been mentioned multiple times in the web and various presentations. What I would like to emphasize, or the actual definition of hydroponics when we actually implement is, it is a way of feeding plants in a medium that is inert, so that the crop gets the right nutrition at the right quantity at the right time. This is all you should know about the fact hydroponics, because I've always seen hydroponics is associated with the system as it is. Hydroponics is shapeless. It can be anything. It can be a tower garden. It can be a linear NFT platform. It can be a small tub of water growing plants on a thermocol float. So there's no specific shape to it. If you can feed a plant at the right quantity of fertilizer at the right time and with the right support, then a system can be called a hydroponic system. Because whenever someone wants to start, they're looking at something called a hydroponic system. Because in theory, all this is fine. But when you have to start something, you need to finalize on something. So broadly, when we talk about systems, there are multiple types. I'm sure some of you may have noticed all these, but I'm going to briefly explain every single time. So we are looking at two broad categories. One is water-based and the other is substrate-based. Originally, when hydroponics was familiarized, it was always water-based. But now, with advent of inert substrates, then we have substrate-based hydroponics also called as soilless systems. So in water-based, again, there are multiple types, active and passive types. Active means there is always a pump or some electrical component running. So why I'm saying this is, if you are in a location that does not have this then continuous power supply, you should not go for it, or have a backup strategy to provide continuous supply. So when we say a water-based culture and an active system, we are looking at NFT, ebb and flow, aeroponics. All these need continuous power. If you don't have continuous power, you need to have a backup. If that is not planned, then the farm will not going to function. It's not going to function as you expect. And the other type in the water-based growing system is passive system, or also called as a pond system, or raft, DWC, deep water culture. So many names to it. This looks a bit like a very simple system from the first look, but as you grow in size, you may have to add some more pumps to aerate the system, aerate the solution, all that. So this is as far as the active and passive type of systems concerned. When it comes to substrate, we are looking at soil-like substance, but it is not soil. It could be your coco peat, it could be sand, it could be perlite, vermiculite, anything. The key thing is it does not have any nutrition in itself. So you cannot use any soil that has already some nutrition inside. Compost is not allowed. Any inert substance is allowed. All these will fall under substrate-based culture. In substrate, again, there are two broad types, open and closed. Open type. You irrigate the plant, the water drains from the pot. You don't collect the water. You just let it go waste. That is open. And when you do collect the water and recycle it back into the nutrient tank, then it becomes a closed system. This is very essential in areas where there is water shortage, and the open system is a place where you are not too concerned about the water usage or the nutrient usage. You're okay to let it go. Usually farms collect this water and irrigate another set of crops that are outside. Okay. So next, moving on to what do plants need? Okay. So when I started out, we all have an understanding of what plants need. We all have gone to school, but when it comes to farming, suddenly I've seen people tend to overlook these things. So they just get excited and move ahead of these things. So they just jump the gun and just don't look at the basic things. And when that happens, the loss could be a minimal if it is a very small system of yours, or if it could be huge if it is a very large scale farm. Okay, you may wonder why would not someone pay attention to this if it's a large scale farm. We have seen farms that are 2 acre, 3 acre with towers in it not being able to produce because there's no light to the plants. Basic thing, but when not looked at, it can cause a catastrophe in the farm. So basically plants need fertilizer, water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. And what is not mentioned here is the support. They also need support. Soil is only for support. The nutrition that the soil gives is actually mixed in the water. So when you grow plants in soil, the soil gives support also and the nutrition also. Now we are removing the nutrition from the soil and we are giving it ourselves. We need to add support to the plant. This is what the plants need. Okay. And what are the features of hydroponic systems? So why I say this is, if you know what plants need and if you know what systems provide, if there is a right match, then the crop is going to be successful, the farm is going to be successful, and the business owner is successful if he manages to sell all that. So when we are looking at a system, whether you're buying it or making it yourself, these set of points are like golden rules. You should stick to it and ensure all these are supported when you're designing it or when you're buying one. I'll go by one by one. A, the first system should be able to provide support to the plant. It should hold the plant very well. Example, if you're growing a plant that is like celery, which can grow 1.5 feet tall, and the support structure is not good, after about 10 days, it's going to fall off. And after it falls off, it will start bending and going toward the sun. You will get a crop that is not marketable quality. The crop is good, but it's not marketable quality. So good support for the plant is essential. For example, tomatoes. If you're growing tomatoes, if the greenhouse is not equipped with sufficient load-bearing structure, each tomato plant can go up to 40 feet. This is not a mistake, 40 feet. Okay, and each plant can hold up to 5 to 10 kg of weight any time. So imagine 1,000 plants. We are looking at 10 tons. So if the structure is not going to hold those things, then that is going to be a disaster. And you don't definitely want that during your growing cycle. It could be a very small plant or it could be a large farm. The rule is same. Number 3, growing system, whether it is your NFT system or your poly bag, whatever system, it should allow nutrition to reach the plant. So people always saying, hey, can I buy a 2-inch net pot or can I buy a 3-inch net pot? Will it go into the pipe? How far it should be? So the water should reach the roots. So that is your criteria. If it is not touching the roots, if you're designing an aeroponic system or if you're buying an aeroponic system, the spray of the mist should reach the roots. If it is not reaching roots, the plants are going to die. Next, number 4, allows the growth of roots. This is very important. So recently I had a farm visit to one of a grower, and they had tried NFT systems for growing tomatoes. That's right, tomatoes. NFT systems are usually used for growing leafy greens because the life cycle is short. But for tomatoes, life cycle is about 8 to 9 months. So the whole NFT stand was filled with roots. Water couldn't go. The entire thing started overflowing. Basically, it doesn't allow the growth of roots. Next, protects roots from sunlight. A system should insulate the roots from sunlight because wherever the roots are, nutrient solution is in hydroponics. If you allow sunlight, there is going to be algae growth in the nutrition, which you don't want because algae deprives the nutrient of oxygen. Oxygen is very important. We all have read plants need carbon dioxide. Make no mistake, that is only the leaves. Roots need oxygen just like us. And easy to plant and easy to harvest. Very important, often overlooked. It is very fancy to have an 18-layer system, just like Somveer talked about. By the time he goes up and comes down, he's either going to damage few plants or damage himself or both. So it is really not the sophistication of the system. It is how ergonomic it is to plant, harvest, and not just these two. The plants have to be looked at every day. Are there some leaves? Are the plant left in the system or not? Are the bugs eating it or not? You need to be on top of it. So when all this is put together, you have the right structure where the system is enclosed in, the system as it is, and the agronomy part of it makes a successful crop. Of course, I missed an important ingredient in it, the business owner. So based on this, I have wanted to classify hydroponic growing into three broad scales. Okay, this is because of the calls and the various requests I've been receiving last several years. So I've heard people saying, "Hey, I have a rooftop that is like 500 feet. Is it commercially viable?" Okay, and then very similar to I have lands unlimited. What can we do? So, and then there is someone saying I have an empty plot of 5,000 square feet. So all these three are valid questions, right? But then we need to set the expectations right, and we need to understand ourselves why we are getting in, what are we going to expect from that. So in this whole lot of requirement types that I get, I have broadly classified them into hobby farming, semi-commercial, and commercial. But make no mistake, all of their goal is to come up with a great looking and great tasting crop. There is no compromise on that. Whether you're hobby, commercial, or semi-commercial, the crop you want should be first class. Let's go to hobby scale. Usually the hobby scales are all less than 2 to 3,000 square feet. I put 2,000 because I had to put a number, but it usually hovers around 2 to 3K square feet, so don't quote me on that. It's really the use case that is important. Hobby growers are the ones who want to get a hang of hydroponics, and I would suggest all to go from this scale first, because without knowing what it is, you will just be at the mercy of people who are telling you what it is. And more often than not, you will just not ask one person. You will ask 10 people, 10 of them will give you a different idea about it. And then you're already putting your stuff in OLX. Okay. So look at what it is. So hobby scale, usually less than 2,000 square feet. When you're doing for hobby or home consumption, it is always variety over quantity. People want, especially if you're growing for your home garden, nobody wants just palak all the week. It's a mix of salad, mix of fruiting crops. When I say fruiting, I mean tomatoes, bell peppers, those kind, not guavas, chiku, mango. And rooting crops like ginger, garlic, potatoes, whatnot. And the form factors are usually smaller. And these are systems that are less maintenance requiring, and it should also be less complicated. You need not check the systems like every half an hour and see what. It should not be like that. These are all hobby scale. People don't have all day to spend on it. And also error proof. If you think something is going to go wrong, that will go wrong. So the systems also should ensure if the slope is not right, if it is kept in a sunny balcony or not so sunny balcony, it should be resilient to those minor changes. And in hobby scale, different weather conditions are also taken into consideration, because the same smaller systems can be used in any different places. So one should look at, will it work in my condition? Okay. So that's one of the criteria you should see whether when you are going into a hobby scale. And also less time devoted on a daily basis. The less time can be very subjective. People with time can spend more, but usually that's how my experience has been when I come across customers who are in hobby scale. So the expectations are like this. What is important when you're doing in a hobby scale is, first, you get to know the growth of plant, the entire biology as it is. It cannot be like, oh, how long it will take to germinate, how long it will be to get the crop to production. Is the plant going to give me yield in 2 months or 3 months? When is it the right time to pick? All this can be learned in this phase. To a great extent, even the weight of the crop, is the flavor right, all that. So you will be really focusing on the variety and continuity. How often you should sow? What are all the standard timelines for all these crops? And then how easy it is to produce. And then the exoticness of the crops. And then the aesthetics also important. If you're doing in a hobby scale, especially if you want to keep it in your home, it has to look good as well. What is not so important? So when you're growing in hobby scale, don't look at these things, because that will vary drastically between a hobby and a semi-commercial or commercial. So logistics, please don't look at this. If you're coming up with a 100 square feet garden, don't look at logistics and plan your farm. Either your numbers will look too good because you're only going to give, or it will look too bad because you're hiring a truck to give. 20 plants or 2,000 plants, you hire a truck, it's going to be costing the same. Cost of production. So don't look at the cost of production. Look at the operational work that is involved. Cost of production will vary absolutely differently. So you are looking at the technical aspects of the farm and the variety and what the market wants. Another good example for hobby scale, I'll tell you. If you go and tell a buyer, hey, I'm growing lettuce, will you buy from me? He's saying, okay, give me a sample. No, you will say, I'm setting up a farm in 3 months, so I'm going to give you a sample later. That's the last time you will see. So this is also a right size to produce different varieties, give samples, understand market research. Okay, this is a right tool for that. Manpower requirements also you should not focus here, because the size of the farm really depends on really dictates how much manpower you need. Quality grade is something that you should see if you are selling it. If you should not be worried about too much if you are consuming it yourself. Revenue and sales, you should only see the price that in which they are doing. The whole profitability game should not be played at this scale. So I'm also going to give you some images of how small these systems are and what different scale can be done. And this is all if you're buying a system also, or if you're making it yourself, way to go also, so you can get an idea of what all things are possible. Okay. So displayed here is, of course, these are kits from Garden Guru. One on the left is about 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. Grows about 30 plants. Okay, and you can grow almost all different green leafy herbs in this. So if you want to try out few varieties of vegetable, you can grow green vegetable in each channel. And the other one is, I don't know, fortunately, I think you cannot see the system because the plants have grown fully dense. But this is called a raft system, a very small portable form factor, about 12 plants. Okay, these are all windowsill formats. But then you want to go ahead and build your own. So this is again one of the very, very old systems that we built. It's 2012-ish. So this is something that is custom built for a home. Okay, so you can see there is far end, there is Swiss chard, basil, chili, and more palak, things like that. And it also can grow flowers. Okay, it's not necessarily meant only for fruiting plants or sorry, vegetables. You can grow flowers also if that's what you want. And then the balconies also can be used in a way that it can really accentuate the place, also be productive. These are all single line growers, just single line, and not limited to fruiting crops. So this is a rooftop. You can grow plants like this. So what you can see is it is not impossible to achieve commercial grade quality from your home garden also, provided we follow the right set of growing practices, which also I'll try to touch upon in this presentation. So this is typically the home garden, and then I generally see a lot of demand and buzz about this system called Kratky system. Back when I started, this was in 2012. So the system, the photos are quite old, so don't mind the resolution. This is a very, very lightweight system for a home hobby scale. You can build it yourself. This is just a barrel with 200 liters of nutrient filled in, and you place a cucumber plant. Usually it is a cucumber plant, but you can put anything else you want. And after that, you don't water them. You don't do anything to the nutrient solution. No adjustment, nothing. And it continues to grow and yield till the end of the crop. And after that, you will remove the crop and put the new one. So this is how it starts. And you place, this is for all the do-it-yourself kind in the attendees today. So I thought I'll spend some more time on these few systems so that you can get your hands dirty right after this presentation. And then this is how the roots start. And then it goes, and then it takes over the entire 200 liters of water. And the end of the growing season, there won't be any water left. You would have got at least 30, we got about 30, 35 cucumbers. At some point, we stopped counting. So this is one such system called Kratky system. So this is documented in my website. Should anyone be interested, it's available through Google. I'll send out the links also. So next, we are going into what is called neither here nor there kind of a stage called semi-commercial, or what is called a pilot project. This is very important because this is where one person has to decide whether going commercial is their thing or not. And it is essential that they don't do it too small that it stops being commercial, or it's too large, it is commercial and you're still experimenting. So I would say from our requests and from the setups we have done, about 2,000 square feet till even 9,000 square feet, this has been semi-commercial scale, also called as pilot projects. They're treated very similar to commercial projects. The costing, the buyer, everything has to be done, except the volume of production or the quantum may be a little lesser, but it should give you a very fair idea about what is in it for you. And here also there are a few things that you should not consider because some of the things work in economy of scale. So when you do 2,000 square feet and above, what happens? You need to have dedicated staff. You just cannot do it yourself at some point. So you need to manage the staff. You need to have their salaries and all those benefits considered in your costing. Yields will be very similar to commercial, but the revenue and sales may not be the same. And when you do these kind of crops, what is important is you need to choose what kind of crop to cultivate, whether you want to do one crop across the greenhouse or a different set of crop. This question has been like popping up every farm we set. There is no right answer. Okay, but it helps if your area is very small. You would rather supply one thing properly than have a dozen things in smaller scale. If you do in that case, then you need to probably supply to just one person. Okay, so my bias is always towards do one or two crops, supply to a group of buyers than just one person, because one person can always be a risk factor. Okay, and what all to consider when you do a pilot project? You should consider everything that should do for a commercial project, which is like crop cycles, how many crops per year you can grow, what's your productivity, operational data points, how much water I am getting consumption of every day. Is it going to be okay during summer? Should I have to have backup arrangements? What is the sales? What is the marketability of this crop? So, I'm sure all of you would have watched YouTube in length and probably have no new videos left to watch. The old videos show up. All of them grow lettuce. So the biggest challenge here is India is not yet so much of a salad consuming country. So just because it's good to grow and you can grow, it should not be grown. The goal is, if you have to convince someone to take lettuce, it's already a losing game. So grow something that is already in demand. And if you can find a demand for lettuce, excellent. That's going to be your market research. So grow something that is already in demand and grow it well. This should at least help you go past the first hurdle, which is finding buyers. Otherwise, for example, if you're growing endive, chicory, you'll probably have one 5-star hotel buying about half a kg every day. We use about 30 kilometers away. The logistics is going to kill you. And generally, like I think one of the presenters said, hotels, though they always are brought up in the discussion, hotels and restaurants, we can sell 5-star hotels. These 5-star hotels will not pay you anything more than a better price in Mandi, because they have very strict guidelines on the procurement, and then they don't have a lot of room to increase the price. What is on the menu, it's already on the menu. So they cannot increase the menu rate every day. The best bet is to probably do a B2B2C. So today's palak price could be 15, tomorrow it could be 18, you'd hardly notice. So the minor fluctuations in price can be balanced if you have such buyers. What not to look at in semi-commercial is logistics. So because you will be growing a lesser crop, because of obviously your area is less. So don't look at logistics and kind of score your project down. When you are growing in size, logistics can come down. And some buyers may choose to pick up right from your farm. Again, that is something that you need to consider while you have a discussion with the buyer. Then cost of production. Cost of production also, sometimes you should consider, it really is, if your area is too small, then you should not consider, because one labor is going to add all the cost, that it will not make it profitable. So look at what is going to be carried forward to a commercial project and what is not. If something is going to change, look at the actual case in the commercial project. So next is some of the semi-pilot projects that we have done. This is about 2,500 square feet. This is for a company that owns about 4 restaurants, so they didn't really have a problem of consumption per se. This is again another farm for A-frame, though I am not a proponent of A-frame. It is something they wanted for aesthetics purpose, and they also have a huge footfall in terms of their cafeteria, so they take it. Next comes to commercial kale. So this is the mammoth. Anything about 10,000 square feet, which is a quarter acre or 1,000 square meter, can be called commercial. Again, these tagging and labeling are all just to create a broad classification. 9,000 is also called commercial, 11,000 is also called semi-commercial. Depends on really what you look at it, but broader understanding helps you. So when it goes commercial, you definitely want quality and quantity over variety. I don't want to be misunderstood. Have variety, but give more preference to quality and quantity. And the second one is much more important, consistency in supply. When you do commercial, most of them come to you hoping that you will be able to supply regularly. Even if there is a dip in one of the supply, they'll start looking for backups. So this is where you need to see, when you're going for a farm, going for a crop, going for a system, will you be able to get year-round production? And then if you do get, excellent, ensure it does. If you don't get, inform the customer or whoever is the buyer on which months you will not be able to supply. So this creates a very good transparency between the both the parties, and it's easier to work with in continuing the contract. So in a commercial farm, there are a lot of things that has to be looked at. Okay, I just don't want to make it look complicated. It is good. It is challenging though. Important things: production of crops in good quality is your main goal. There is no compromising in that. Operational efficiency. This is another thing which many farms oversee, because operational efficiency is how easy the staff find working in that farm. Even the weather matters inside, how the plants are organized. So what works abroad may not work here. So we need to really come up with a practice that will work very well for our Indian weather, and also consider not all the staff will be educated. So we need to come up with how to educate them. Our main challenge has always been to make them unlearn what they have learned with soil. The first response, sir, I have been doing last 35 years in agriculture and you are teaching me. Okay, so you be prepared for all this, but you know your business well. So go ahead, teach them and make them unlearn what is learned over the years that may not be applicable for hydroponics. We should definitely look at logistics, cost of production to the last paisa, efficiency of the staff, definitely marketability and sales. That should be the first, but I mean, we have discussed this in length. What is not so important is having too many varieties. This will always be tempting because you have the ability to grow anything, doesn't mean you should grow. I have myself done this in the past, because just to associate with a big brand, you may want to grow something that you want only for them. But if the quantity is not justifying the time, you should say no to it and don't grow it. So this is some of the pictures that I'm going to show you are for the. This is one of the projects that we did. This is only spinach, monocropping. This is a invested company. They have more than 500 stores they supply to under a brand. So single crop is all they needed. This one is a mixed crop. So they supply to aggregators. Some of them are portals, which like Daily Ninja and the type. Both are half acres. This is the same half acre plant with a higher growth. And this is a quarter acre growing lettuce and some other Asian greens. So all these are NFT systems. We also did what is called a pond culture. So this type of system we use where the power fluctuation is very high and sometimes power is not at all there. So these are systems that has to be designed properly, because though it looks very simple, you build a pond, put water in it and float a raft on it, how difficult it could be. When you have to manage large bodies of this, there will be challenges. Especially the challenges when you want to add a nutrient to this, you need to ensure how will you make the entire pond measure the same parameters, be it pH, be it easy, how will you make sure they're uniform? So you need to circulate it. How do you circulate it? But then comes in the issue of power. So put some thought into it. All this are the discussions that the consultant and the owner of the farm will have. There is no one system for all. It never was, it never will be, because the India itself has so many weather patterns, so many choice of cuisine. So it really depends on what sells, what grows, and what you can grow. You need to create a overlap of all this is what will be the successful crop. So this is one such crop. can be used for semi-commercial as well as commercial. So these are all leafy greens we saw. This is a cucumber growing in a bag system. This is what is called a substrate system. Remember, I was giving a classification of systems. So cucumber, tomatoes, bell pepper are all long-term crops. Cucumber being about 3-4 months, tomatoes 8-9 months, bell pepper 8-9 months. So you cannot grow them in an NFT system. Why? Because as the plants grow, their root mass increases and their demand for oxygen, everything increases. So it is good to keep them in a substrate bag where the oxygen supply is very, very high. In this, you are only going to irrigate the plant maximum 4 or 5 times a day. So the pump is of very less load in terms of the electrical budget for your farm. Same applies to bell pepper. And many of you might have heard about the system called Dutch bucket system. Dutch bucket system is a very similar thing where the grow bags drain out the water. Dutch bucket system collects the water. Okay. Another thing most farms miss out is when you collect Dutch bucket water, that is the water draining out of say 10,000 plants from an acre. What are the odds that one plant out of that is infected? Very easy. And all we are doing is to collect that water and put it back to all of them. So if high attention to hygiene is not paid in the greenhouse, it's very easy to mess up the whole farm. So when you collect back water, it is your responsibility to put in enough disinfection systems to ensure the second watering does not have all the infection that you got from the drainage of the first. So next, we are again looking at various crops in bag system. These are tomatoes. This can be in any scale because the grow bags can be done in a rooftop, semi-commercial or commercial. It's not going to change much. So these tomatoes are the variety of indeterminate because they stay for a long time. And they grow for 40 feet, 40 plus feet sometimes. So the height, the weight, everything has to be considered. This is another modified Dutch bucket system where the crop, the growth medium you see here is perlite. We have used perlite as a trial, but my suggestion is to not use perlite because it is very, very expensive and you will not make profit with this. The investment will be very high and it is not so great that you cannot use an alternative. You can use cocoa peat and it's quite good. So this is typically how the growth pattern happens in Dutch bucket system. Okay, so since we saw all the pictures, we got an idea of what all different systems can be done. Now, the basic thing about the whole running the farm is there are several aspects of crop production. One is crop planning, nursery production, crop nutrition management, pest management, harvest and post-harvest management. So we are going to do crop planning. For a hobby, crop planning is very simple. You just come up with your own demand. It's usually demand driven because you want palak, you grow palak. Very simple. Trend driven. Hey, everyone is growing kale and having kale juice. It must be good. We can grow kale also. That is another one. Or cost driven. This is more often the case because we have a lot of customers who are from abroad and don't want to buy imported stuff. A bunch of celery was costing them 900 rupees in food hall. 900. So they wanted to grow it themselves. So cost driven. Passion driven. You always wanted to grow these vegetables, you can grow them. When it comes to semi-commercial and commercial, it is most of the time it is this way. Demand driven, mainly. It has to be demand driven because if you grow what you can want to grow just out of your interest, that's not going to be a successful way. Always see what market wants, grow it well. And market driven. Sometimes market may ask you, sometimes you may see a demand. Say, for example, you are looking at so many of these greens have been imported by a company and you can always pitch in to grow it locally and give it to them. That's demand driven. And then cost driven, very similar case where you can reduce the cost by growing it locally. Let's say if your state is getting it from another state, if you can grow it locally, fantastic. So the idea is to be hyper local, and then cost driven. When it comes to semi-commercial and commercial, it is mostly demand driven. It has to be demand driven because if you grow what you can want to grow just out of your interest, that's not going to be a successful way. Always see what market wants, grow it well. And market driven. Sometimes market may ask you, sometimes you may see a demand. Say, for example, you are looking at so many of these greens have been imported by a company and you can always pitch in to grow it locally and give it to them. That's demand driven. And then cost driven, very similar case where you can reduce the cost by growing it locally. Let's say if your state is getting it from another state, if you can grow it locally, fantastic. So the idea is to be hyper local Like Somveer shared, it is a local business. So you can reduce the cost of logistics, storage by being cost driven. So nursery production. This is by far one of the most important area, and most of them fail at this. Okay, whether it is a home garden or some commercial farms, getting the seeds to seedling stage is half of the journey. After that, the plants are old enough to manage. But if you don't get the right seeds and get them to germinate, it's going to be a challenge. So whether for home garden or commercial, you need to come up with the right set of inputs for this. Generally, for hobby, you purchase everything from a nearby garden store. It can be grown in house, the nursery plants, or you can buy seeds, generate seedlings yourself, or you can buy it. These are all various options of growing seedlings. Jiffy is a coconut plug, coconut peat in a wrapper. Makes it easy for first timers to move the plants from one place to another without getting the roots cut. Oasis cubes, rock wool, so on and so forth. These are all available for hobby growers. For commercial, we usually grow seedlings inside the farm because A, you want to be completely sure it is grown the right way. B, we want to reduce the cost as much possible. You can have a dedicated nursery area in your farm. Most favorite medium of choice is cocoa peat, and if the market price justifies it, you can use Oasis and Jiffy because they are a little more expensive than cocoa peat. The next few slides are going to be typically how we do seedlings. The first one is lettuce seedlings grown in Jiffy plugs. The second one is strawberry seedlings. How we do it inside an egg pot, how we display into an empty system. This was done for a home garden. If you were to do a commercial farm, I would not do strawberry in an empty. Okay, so just to give you an idea on that, I showed you this. Then comes to the part where we need to feed the plant. I realized it very soon into starting Garden Guru. Most of them think just watering the plant is enough. It will be like the plants are not growing, and then what are you doing? I'm watering every day. So plants don't need just water; they need plant food. So more so, if you're growing it in hydroponics, you need to water them every day with hydroponic nutrients. Whether you make it yourself or buy it from outside, plants need food every day. So always remember this: hydroponic plants, you need to water them every day with nutrition. For hobby, a general purpose nutrition is good for you because you will have a lot of variety growing. You need to have one single solution or maximum two. You cannot have 10 different crops and then 10 different tanks. It's not going to be viable. You will soon move into only one solution. You can either manually mix it or put a control system, but for most of your home garden purpose, manual mixing should be just enough. The varieties are chosen for flavor and nutrition. So nutrition, the variety of the vegetables you will choose also is for flavor. You don't need the one that gives you the biggest fruit. Some of you may, but generally it is for the appearance of the fruit. Yellow colored tomato, blue colored mustard, all that is good for your home garden. Open pollinated and heirloom varieties also are the most sought in the home garden segment. But please check with the buyer if you are growing anything unusual or odd in appearance. When I say odd, I mean good. But if you are growing a purple mustard and yellow lettuce and all that, just check with the buyer. You can never predict customer psyche. Everyone wants green lettuce, no matter how much more nutritious the red lettuce is. Nobody cares. Okay, so and suddenly you put a different color, no one buys it. So it's hard to predict what will sell and what will not sell. So always check if you're doing commercial. Check with the buyer. And for commercial, the crop choice is always based on flavor, nutrition, disease resistance, very important, and shelf life and geography. Will Bangalore eat lettuce? You need to check that. And the nutrition for commercial crops is very targeted. You cannot put what is good for a cucumber to lettuce. And because we are dealing with very large scale, we use some controllers to ensure the automation is done in a much more efficient way. Same with pest management. For home garden, we always use organic and manual removal of pests. For commercial farms, this is usually the order of, usually we use in integrated pest management so that holistic methods are applied to reduce the pest. Insect-proof net, pheromone traps. These are traps that have a hormone or the scent of a hormone of an insect, which will attract all the male population or the female population and kill all of them. And organic pesticides, and if there is no other way and the entire farm is invested, we use sometimes synthetic pesticide to completely clean the farm. And another thing that is always asked is hydroponic produce organic? No, it's not, because it does not use soil and it uses synthetic fertilizers. You can call it pesticide free or residue free if you raise it that way. If you spray pesticide, it cannot be called pesticide free. And next comes harvest. When do you harvest? Post-harvest management. Usually home garden, it is always harvested on demand. You don't really bother about harvesting and keeping. You can harvest on demand. But commercial, it is harvested whenever you have manpower available at the farm or whenever the truck is going to come and pick it up. So it is very important to align these two in order. And it's 90% logistics driven. And usually the trucks come at 5 o'clock. You cannot ask the workers to come at 4 o'clock in the morning to do. So you will have them harvest in the evening and put it in the cold store. So all these things have to be nicely followed and thought through when you come up with a farm. It is just not a bunch of pipes put on a stand and water. It is a business. And despite all this, many hobby farms also fail, commercial farms also fail. Not all of them, some of them do fail. Why? Main reason is not paying attention to basic requirements. The light, water, nutrition, support, and air. You will be surprised. Any of your failure in the past hydroponic experiments of yours, or even from a known source, you can check out. It will be one of these or the business aspect of it. And another one I'm seeing off late is you cannot simplify hydroponics too much. It is a precision science. If you simplify too much, yield also will be simplified. Your revenue also will be simplified. So don't simplify it too much. The other reason it fails, unsuitable crop for system and weather. This is by far one of the most important reasons things fail. Everyone wants to sell strawberries in the hottest climate in India possible. I also like, but the fact of the matter is we cannot grow. You cannot do beyond what is possible considering your environment. Of course, you can grow it in indoor with an air condition, but the cost has to be viable. So please do research on what crop can grow well in that weather. This is also due to tall claims coming because hydroponics can grow anything anywhere, and so those claims have to be contained and discuss with your consultant on what is really possible. And if they say it is not possible, don't go and risk it. The other one is being unable to read the plants. This is also very important. This is why you should have someone who is skilled in plant science in your company if you are doing a commercial farm, or for a hobby farm, you have to start cultivating this habit. Look at the plants every day. They speak before they die. So there could be deficiencies, there could be problems in the pest problems. By observing the plants, you'll get to know what's happening. Otherwise, it's just one-way communication with your plant. It's not going to work. And other reasons for failure is too many cooks. This is the problem with Facebook advice or WhatsApp groups advice. If you do want to follow advice, follow one person's advice. One may I've seen very, very funny advices coming, put ginger garlic paste on the plant, put red chili on the plant. Most of them work in a very contextual way. So please see what is worthy of doing, and you don't have to spray everything on the plant unless you know for it. If you want to try it on a smaller area to see if it works. Why would a commercial farm fail? So I'm talking about reasons for failure because you need to understand what not to do. Reasons for success, there are several. I can show you several of the farms where things have been working well, but you don't need help to digest a good news. So reasons why commercial farm fail is, again, lack of understanding in basic plant science. Another thing I've seen is going multiple levels nowadays. So when I give a estimate or a proposal to a customer, he says, "Hey, Mani, this is all good. This is in one layer. What do we do 4x?" I said, "Okay, 4x. Then your revenue will become 0x," because it doesn't work like that. Because plants need light. Then they say, "Why don't we add LED lights to the other layers?" I said, "Then your electricity increases. Now why don't we add solar?" Now we have 3 problems with you. So I'm not saying solar is bad or LED is bad, but don't try to violate basic plant science rules. They are there and they are going to help you get the best crop. Improper system design. This is where those multiple levels and too high density comes in. Wrong choice of crop, system, and market. Like I said in the beginning, grow crop that does not need so much marketing, because marketing is a very expensive affair. If you have to market your brand or market your crop, and then you have to tell the customers what to cook with that. So it's very difficult. So go with what is having a good demand and find a good buyer for that. So when it comes to commercial farm, you have to choose the right crop for the right system, for the right market. I'll give you an example of a wrong combination. Growing tomatoes in a pipe for Bangalore market. Okay, tomatoes get sold for 5 rupee to 10 rupee per kg most of the year. So you will definitely not be able to pay the laborers to even harvest it. And customers don't really bother whether you do it in hydroponics or not, to a major extent. And the next one is inadequate or no market research. That is always the case that I see in failed farms. It is never let's grow it and sell that. You need to know what to grow and then sell that first. Unrealistic business plan. This happens when you put selling price of your produce after you see their supermarket price tags. You go to Hypercity, see they're sold for 150 rupees a bunch, and your Excel sheet suddenly looks like a miracle in the making. And you think 3.5 months is all I need to make break even and ROI. This is like a fantastic plan. But the actual truth is they mark it up several times to cover their cost. At best, you probably may get 30 to 40 bucks per head, which will get sold at 150. Even the 30 to 40, there are agents who supply a whole lot of vegetables to the supermarket. You probably are growing 1 or 2. So have a very realistic cost or selling price in mind and then approach. Last, not the least, inadequate time spent on the farm. Most of the commercial farm wannabe growers already have another business, and then they want to diversify and get into this. If you want to diversify, you should diversify properly, because this is a business. Time spent on the farm is important. The plants don't take care of themselves, neither the workers in the farm. So the promoter or the one with the best interest of the farm has to spend maximum amount. No amount of automation is going to help you here. Nothing. Just underline that last line. That is going to make all the difference between a successful and a failing farm. So this is very similar to what I said. Best practices. Don't oversimplify plant requirements. There are a lot of, due to time constraint, we have to cut short some of the explanations, but there are a lot of tools available to how to get to the right conducive environment for the plants, but that's probably for another day. Don't find the cheapest instrument for measuring. Definitely not. So if you're buying a good instrument, buy from the right brand, and that will help you give the right data. And also choose the right crop with the right season. And also choose the right seed from the reputed company, because bad seeds can definitely waste your time and the hope for the farm also. Best practices for the commercial farm. First, nothing beats this thorough market research. If it takes 6 months, if it takes 1 year, please do it. Then consider very conservative prices, probably 10-20% lesser than what they are quoting you. And then have a buyer contract agreement, essential. That is very essential for B2B. Probably you can even have an advance from them. Crop production under trained professional and a consultant. This is very important. Ask their track record. Also, what crops they have grown, and will they be able to help you in when things don't go well with the crop, all that. Have all of your staff well trained. That is important, because they are the ones who tell you when it is ready, when it is not, which crop leaves are healthy, which leaf is not. Plan your logistics well, because that is the elephant in the room. Most of the business plan don't consider logistics. And always stagger the crop. I've seen whenever people start the farm, they put the entire thing in the first go. And then all the 35,000-40,000 plants will get ready in the first month. And they're running around to get buyers. That's definitely should not be the way to go forward. So with all said, I want to show how healthy plants will look like, how badly managed system will look like. These are healthy roots. It should be white in color. Shows good oxygen supply to the roots. Typically, a crop failure would look like this. Wilted plants, very dark roots, rotten. These are also reasons why you should not grow a wrong crop. These are tomato plants grown in pipes at one of my customers' place. It is a home farm, so it is okay, but for commercial farms, we really don't do that. So with all this said, how do you decide what all systems to go with? So for your home garden, like I said, you need more variety than quantity. So you list down all the crops that you want to consume or grow it yourself. Divide them into broadly leafy crops and fruiting crops. For all leafy greens, you can use any of these technology, nutrient film technique, deep water culture, or raft system. And for leafy greens, for fruiting crops, you can use Dutch bucket or grow bags. And then there is rooting crops where radish, carrot, turnip, beetroot, garlic, ginger, etc. You can use a grow bag or trough systems. Trough systems are like a grow bed, offer you a larger surface area so that you will get a higher productivity per unit area. This is with respect to growing system selection for a commercial farm. First, identify the market and the crop. Once these two are selected, now you need to find out what is your budget, because the market can take 2 tons a day of some crop. You cannot supply all of it. So what's your budget? Based on that, you arrive at the farm size, the type of system, can you grow or not? Everything can be put in place by this approach. And then you need to consider all these things. Do you have the right temperature to grow? Do we have water availability for the whole year? And then distance to the market. Again, like I said, leafy greens, NFT, DWC, and substrate. For fruiting plants, you can go with grow bags, trough, or Dutch buckets. So I think I'm nearing the time allotted for me. So one thing you need to remember is, in a commercial farm or even the home farm, the law of minimum applies. It means whatever you give, what is present in the least, that will control your yield. You can have the great greenhouse. If the nutrition is not right, your plants won't give you the yield. Or you can have the great nutrition. If light is not there, you won't get the yield. So law of minimum always controls the yield. So with this, I think it is most of it is covered. Laju, do we have another 5 to 10 minutes time?
Yes, sir, you can take it, no problem. I hope the audience is also fine with the same.
I just hope if there is any issue, please give me a shout.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So, in fact, there seems to be good interest. There are a lot of questions also coming in, I can see. So, please go ahead.
Okay.
Take your time for
Sorry
another
about that, and
15.
thanks for allowing me to extend another 5 minutes.
Sure.
So one of the essential parameters, this is not the complete list, there are several, but at a high level, I want to just run you through this. pH, EC, and temperature. You need to be constantly measuring these two. pH, definitely on a, if it is a home garden, maybe every day, and if it is a commercial farm, it is automatically noted or recorded by the control system. So I want to give a little bit about pH. pH is how much acidic and basic is your nutrient solution. So if pH shifts, not all of your nutrient element that you put in the nutrient solution will be taken up by the plants. So you will see deficiency of one element or the other if your pH swings. So when you see a deficiency, you always should look at the pH first. This is why I said keep reading the plants. We cannot keep on always giving it to the plant and not look at their feedback. Plants give you the first feedback, early warning, everything is there, you just have to look at them. That is why time on the farm is very important. So for most plants, the pH ideal range is 5.5 to 6.5. There are internet material that says, for broccoli it's 6.1 and, for celery it's 5.9. You really cannot go and tune to every single crop. Plants always take a range. No plants ever says, give me 5.7 or I'm going to die. It is never like that. You can see tomato plants growing in a ditch also. So they're survivors. They'll survive. So give a optimal range and don't allow swings to happen. And we use pH meter to measure the pH, obviously. And there is something called calibration you need to do on a weekly basis or once in 15 days. So that probably is for another day. We use pH adjustment to adjust the pH. We use acid and bases. We always can make a solution of a very dilute solution because it's acid. We need to be careful. This is for home garden. You need to make some fine adjustments. For commercial farm, it is automatically controlled with a dosing system, so you don't really need to bother. Also, you can run a commercial farm technically without a controller also. Okay, but you need to be on top of it, have someone responsibly do it. So if you happen to talk to someone and they say without controller it's not possible, it is possible. It is good to have it so that you don't have to remember to do it every single day. Conductivity is simply how salty the solution is, how much nutrition is in the solution. So if you have higher conductivity, then the nutrient solution is stronger. If it is low EC, it is weaker. So for most of the leafy crops, the conductivity is very small. As the plants grow, you need to increase the conductivity. All the leafy greens that we grow in commercial farm, they're all of 1 month life cycle. So their conductivity remains more or less same. But when it comes to fruiting crops like tomato, cucumber, etc., the conductivity is increased as the plants grow in size. Again, you can increase and decrease manually also, automatically also with the controller. So what we have is different meters for checking nutrient solution management. So how do you do is periodically you have to check the EC and pH. If the saltiness or the EC is very low, add fertilizer. If it is very high, add water. That's what the standard protocol is. Controller will always do this for you. And typically, if it is a very, very large scale farm, weekly analysis of the solution is also necessary. But the analysis costs very high in Indian conditions, so we don't really do it. So we keep the tank size reasonably small. Dumping the solution. Most of the internet says every 10 days you throw out the water and remix. It is an easier way to suggest if you don't have an EC and a pH meter. If you have an EC and a pH meter at home, then you can measure and modify the solution. But if you don't, the best way is to dump the solution and put a new one. But this dumping can be very hazardous in case if you're dumping it to a plot nearby. So be responsible there. You are worried about what you take in as a water source. You should also be worried about what you put out. And excuse me. So there are various strategies in managing the nutrient solution. Usually are commercial oriented. So right now, a little out of the scope. So this is about deficiencies. There are two main things you need to know in this. Chlorosis is lack of chlorophyll. Necrosis is lack of life in the tissue. So yellowing of leaves, dead cells, these two are the ones you will notice. Okay, and there are various reasons for deficiency, but any nutrition not present, it will show up as deficiency only. So you need to understand based on what is happening, which nutrient is missing. And most hydroponic nutrients, when I say most, I mean 100%, from reputed companies come with all nutrition in them. Nobody sells a nutrient without some elements in it. They're all complete nutrient solution. If you see a deficiency, it is very likely due to a water source or a pH not being managed properly. So that's how you should start to diagnose how your deficiency can be narrowed down to which element is missing. Okay, there are possible reasons for deficiency. Nutrient element is not present in the solution at all. This is probably case if you're trying to do a nutrient solution yourself. But other than that, it's never the case, because if you buy it outside, it will always be complete. pH is not ideal. The next is the nutrient element not in the right form. I have seen this happen many times because people, in the name of simplifying, they just take urea and put it for plants, okay, to reduce cost. Let's not simplify things without knowing what is going on behind. If you know the chemistry, then you're okay to do it. But if you don't know, it is just right to follow what is given. EC that is in the right range. If you're a very high demanding plant, if you're giving a very low EC, the plants are not going to grow well. Excuse me. And the ratio of the nutrition itself is not right. This is the case if you're doing a fruiting nutrient for a leafy plant or vice versa. Excuse me. So this is just a placeholder. Nutrient mobility is a concept where how nutrient moves inside the plant, based on which we can come up with troubleshooting what is missing and what is not based on the location of the deficiency. This probably, I think I'll have it put on my website and send you the link. That would be easier to go through. So based on the older leaves, if the yellowing of leaves is on the younger leaves, how to find out. It's like a flow chart you can follow through and find out. So these are all some sample deficiencies that are manifesting in the plants. Potassium deficiency, calcium deficiency, based on various deficiency, plants will show some signs. So that you can record and use the charts to find out. So we'll have these charts put up on my website, and the links will be shared. So I think that brings us to the end of the session. Thanks for holding on. And if any of you need my contact, it's on the last slide. You can take a snap, or the organizers will share it for you. So I think I'm done with my event, and I open for questions.
So, Mr. Manikandan, thank you so much. I think viewers, I see a lot of likes happening, and I'm sure, sir, it was a very wonderful session, quite enlightening, knowledgeable, and I'm sure people will take a lot of inputs from your presentation.
Thank you.
There is a lot of request for people who wants to also request for your file, which I said we'll check it up and probably share it with them. Okay, great. So I think viewers, from morning we have been basically having very hardcore, clear-cut direction from all the experienced speakers that we have on board here, right from Somvi sir to Mr. Rahul and Manikandan sir, who ended the session in so much of detail. It's hydroponics is about what is being told that yes, it's good if you want to get into it as a hobby or as a commercial angle, but of course, you need to know the whys and whats and hows of it. Else, it is something that you could burn your finger and probably go in a wrong direction. Hence, it is very important that in whichever direction you wish to go, you must have a professional hand-holding consultant who will guide you through. It is important because it's a huge field and study about hydroponics is of course a new topic, but at the same time, it is also something that knowing the customers, as widely explained by Manikandan sir, that if you're doing it as a hobby, is it just for your interior designing, or is it just that you enjoy farming? Is it that you are doing it for your landscape? If you're doing for commercial, are you doing for restaurants? Are you doing for hotels? Are you doing for retail shops like Food Hall or Big Basket or Nature Fresh, these kind of shops? Or it could be that are you doing and wanting to just facilitate with the daily vendors or your daily needs? I've seen also people just growing corianders and probably spinach just at home. So it's really something that whys and what is something that you need to know and get into the subject deep. And it is, as Manikandan also said, it is not just that you just get into it. Plants are like your babies. So it's like you have to nurture, you have to look after it. Plants talk, you have to gather, they don't speak. So you have to sort of understand as to what is the problem that they are having and the right timely measures. So it is a very professional, time consuming business. Uh, the team have already said, the speakers, that don't get into it just because you want to, but really because you have the interest, you have the time, and then of course you take a professional help to understand and get deeper in the subject. So I think let's move to certain questions. Of course, we are a small audience, so I would like the speakers to also, I will, of course, read out the question and then understand as to who could be answering that. So the first one, what I can see is that, just a second, yeah. How small one should start in order to establish POC of growing and selling? This was a question by Mr. Gaurav Batra. So, may I ask one of the speaker who would like to answer on this?
So I'll kind of get to Gaurav. So Gaurav,
Sure.
the idea first of all, you have to understand why the POC. So हमारा POC का idea है कि we should have enough food to be able to sell, to understand what our costs are and so forth. So if you are going to do a 50 plant system, a 50 plant system is roughly about 5.5 kgs a month. If you plant all together, I'm going to use inverse logic from hydroponics growth. आप सारा का सारा एक साथ plant कर दो. So by the end of it, you get 5.5 kgs out. That 5.5 kgs is a very sizable amount to go and start giving samples. So if you go and do 5.5 kgs would roughly be 5 families a month. You would get 5 for families a month. There will be ups and downs. So सबसे छोटा plant वही लगाना है जो बनाने का. 50 plants is a great. To 200 on a lower level, like 50 plants.
Okay, then we have one more question which I would like to ask for strawberries and blueberries and the cycle of strawberries and blueberries in areas where temperature is low. This is a question asked by Mr. Amul, who wants to know as to can this be grown in Pune where the temperature is low? So probably Manikandan sir, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, sure. Hi. So when it comes to strawberries inside greenhouses, so you also need to see near Pune, Mahabaleshwar belt, strawberries are already grown on the soil. Okay. So your whatever you're growing, your pricing needs to either justify the crop you're giving as well as work out for you. That is one. And another thing is when it comes to strawberry inside greenhouses, there is always a challenge of getting a right shaped fruits because strawberries have to be in that shape. Nobody likes a misshapen strawberry. Strawberry people eat with eyes first and then with their mouth. So if you are not considering pollination inside a greenhouse, strawberries are not going to be coming out as you would expect them to be in the right shape. So you should do your thorough homework in terms of what kind of greenhouse you will put, how are you going to have the pollination done. There are a lot of farms that have done indoor strawberry and then they resort to pollination methods like air blower and kind of vibrating pollinators. So this is something that you need to pay attention. Regarding blueberries, I have not worked with it in the past, so I don't really have the right set of data or the experience to comment on it.
Okay. Also, one of the audience wanted to know as to what are the good sources of quality seeds in India?
Okay. So while it largely depends on the crop, I'm going to generally just give out some names. For most of the exotic varieties, so for example, exotic greens, there are companies that are Dutch based, Rijkswaan, Enzazad. There are a lot of companies that are based in Netherlands and then they sell seeds in India. They're established and the seeds are of premium quality. The seeds do cost higher than the regular seeds. Another culture shock that I've always seen with growers is we are all used to buying seeds by packet or 5 grams, 10 grams. But when you buy seeds from companies abroad, they sell you by the seed. Each seed can cost you anywhere between 1 rupee to even 15 rupee. So we should come out of that the culture of buying a packet of seeds and putting 4 or 5 seeds in every cell just so one of them will germinate. Seed is a serious business for them. It is for you as well. So Rijkswaan Seeds, Enzazad, these are all good companies that are from the Netherlands. When it comes to Indian varieties, say for example, spinach, coriander, there are. Excuse me. So there is a company called Indo-American. There is also all agriculture universities. They have one of the best collection of seeds. You also can get it from my regional area. I could say a few names. There is Solar Seeds and then Ashoka Seeds. Several are there. I'm sure they also will ship. This is with respect to leafy greens. With respect to fruiting plants such as tomatoes, again, you can buy from the Netherlands. Or HM Claus is another company that is based out of Hyderabad, I guess. So seed companies are several. I don't think there is any shortage of good seeds in India. You get some fantastic seeds. What is also important is you need to understand the agronomy behind those seeds. You need to understand what kind of seed it is, what kind of fertilizer it needs. The seed company will be able to happily help you what kind of environment you should be giving to the seeds. So some seeds will display higher leafy growth. So you need to balance your fertilizer in such a way that you don't. Nobody wants a very leafy tomato plant with no fruits. So talk to them, understand, because seed selection and the variety selection is an important decision. It is not one of your checklist. It is the decision that you need to take to come up with a quality, because what you grow goes into the platter. So everything depends on it. The shelf life, transportability of the crop. So talk to the seed company also and do your own research with other growers if they're willing to share, that is. that would be helpful. But yeah, there are a lot of seeds, and I can send some list if you need later.
Okay, thank you. We also have someone from the audience. I see two hands who would like to come on stage and probably ask questions themselves. So I will first invite Mr. Richard Strauss, and I would allow him to come on stage, and then probably one can, answer the question on the basis of what he would have to ask.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Richard, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very interested in doing this. I do a little bit of small-scale farming, but going into hydroponics is quite
Where are you
interesting in
from?
South Africa. South Africa, Johannesburg.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know if you understand my accent.
No, we do. Welcome.
Thank you very much. What I would like to find out is with the hobby stage, because that's what I'd like to start out with, I would like to find out with the nutrient feeding, is aquaponics something that you've tried? Is it something that's worth looking at instead of buying all the nutrients and going that route and seeing if that is viable or not?
Go for it, Mani. Go for it.
Thank you.
So hi, Mr. Ricard. So I have not had a direct experience with aquaponics myself, but I've had my friends do it. So aquaponics should be looked at if you have a plan on selling the fish as well as the produce. If you want to replace the fertilizer with the fish waste, then that will going to be giving you only a part of your revenue. That's one. And number two, whatever you're spending on fertilizer, you're going to be spending on fish food as well.
Okay, so it's not going to probably be
correct. You are not literally replacing the fertilizer with introduction of fish, because the fish food is going to be the case. Okay, and another thing that's more of my principle towards this than a fact. What I've seen is aquaponic farms, they do well for leafy greens. But when it comes to fruiting plants, the demand from the plants are so heavy. These additional nutrition that the plants need cannot be fulfilled by the crops. For example, the higher load of potassium that the plants may need during tomato fruiting or any other fruiting crop, the potassium deficiency is very, very common in aquaponics. And what I've seen happen in some of the farms is whenever there is a deficiency, I've seen them add iron chelate or some extra iron as a powder into the system, and the fishes do handle it happily. But in principle, if you were to add some chemical, it is chemical. Right?
Yes, yeah. No, the fishing chemicals you don't want to mix, I wouldn't think.
So I don't, in principle, agree with any addition of any chemicals into the aquaponics. But to answer your question, if you have a regular good income of selling the fish as well, then it could be a good business. And number two, this is from the feedback I get with the customers. People love seafood. So these are saltwater fishes. And when we grow it in aquaponics, these are going to be freshwater fishes. So you need to do a market study there as well, because if that is something that, I'm a vegetarian, so I cannot really comment on the taste part of it. But from the customer palate, I've seen a lot of my friends say we are totally for the saltwater fishes and not freshwater. So
yeah, no, that's a concern that I had, that it might not be a big enough market for the fish.
Yeah, and then the varieties that are being grown, tilapia and the likes, they're not very exotic in nature that people would crave for. It is usually run-of-the-mill fishes, so people, I don't think that is something that they would love to buy and show some premiumness in the product. I'm not sure if I answered your question or not, but generally
Yeah, no, I think that definitely helps. It sort of puts my mind at ease. If I'm going to go in the hobby stage, I won't look at doing fish. I'll probably just
Yeah,
go
don't
with
do fish.
nutrients. Yeah, just
No,
was a thought I've heard about it, and I thought that might make a win-win
just
situation.
another point to add. I have a few of my few of new customers. They've joined me from changing their aquaponic farm into a hydroponic farm. So I don't think things were going well with them. It could be just their farm. I don't know. But for a serious business with fruiting plants and rooting plants, I think hydroponic would be a very reliable source. But some aquaponic fans may shoot me here, but that's the risk I take.
You're
Okay.
good.
No, thank you very much for the answer. That puts my mind at ease. I'm not going to waste time and effort and
My
money.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. I hope, Mr. Rickard, you enjoyed the session as well.
Lovely. I really enjoyed it. And thank you to all the presenters and
You're
yourself.
welcome.
Sure. Thank you. We did actually, just for the benefit of the other viewers also, aquaponics is different from hydroponics, and it is altogether also a different method and system of growing food. But of course, in the first session, we had covered the difference between the two, and then of course, our focus in the coming session was more for hydroponics. So, but it was an interesting question, so I'm sure it will benefit the viewers also to understand what it is all about, probably. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so here we have another gentleman, Mr. Mukund Daga, who's also requested as a handout. So I'm inviting him on the stage as well. Okay, Mr. Mukund Daga, you're there? All right. I think probably unable to. Okay. Yes, sir. So kindly ask your question. We are happy to have you on stage.
Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah. Good afternoon. This is Mukund Maheshwari, founder, chairman, and managing director of Nagarjuna Agrochemical, Hyderabad.
Oh, welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. Actually, I am extremely sorry that today I joined late in this webinar because I was already committed to another webinar also.
Okay.
Which is almost all got at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
So meanwhile, I asked my person to attend this thing. So he was attending. Completely, I could not able to concentrate on this.
Okay.
And it was a condition that I could not able to leave that also.
Okay, no problem. We'll try and share whatever maximum we can with you through a file, and otherwise, just let us know. There will be future sessions that we will be conducting as well.
So let me tell you about a small introduction about myself. I got a group of 18 companies, and I am into the manufacturing of all biofertilizer, biopesticide last 30 years. And of late, last 15 years, we have got the innovative technology of soil testing equipment, which is launched by Honorable Prime Minister. In India, we have got the exclusive rights of that technology.
Excellent. Okay.
And for that, we have got the award also. Now, I am very much interested for this hydroponic, and wanted to start a manufacturing unit of the equipment required for the hydroponic.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to know whether there is anybody who can give me a complete consultancy on this. And I have a discussion in Telangana government also.
Okay.
They are very much, I have already given a small presentation to them, collecting the information from all Google and all. And I have given a presentation here. So they said that they will, initially, they will provide me a platform where pilot project I had to do on the for the urban agriculture.
Okay.
So I am looking for any senior person who is ready to associate it with me.
Okay.
In a complete way. If I wanted to put in a manufacturing unit of the equipment required for this hydroponic instead of just procuring from China or any other places.
Yeah.
And secondly, if someone can help me or join with me I wanted to start it from Telangana, first in a pilot project, and later on we wanted to increase also.
Okay.
So, and for as I have given, sorry, I could not able to get the introduction. I don't know all the people available over here on the this platform today. But if someone can please take down my number and contact me so that we can interact also.
Sure. We have your number, sir. We will get in touch with you and then probably help you connect with the right person to set up what you said, what you're looking for.
Okay.
And rest be assured you will get the right guidance and direction to take it further.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we have one more person, Mr. Pragadish Dharsha, who also have requested to join in, and let's see what he would want to ask while he will come on stage. So I'm inviting Mr. Pragadish. Are you there, Mr. Pragadish? Okay. In the meantime, let me see if we can pick some other question. Okay. Mr. Katyani Singh asked that is this system applicable for small indoor plants usually sold in nursery or either succulents? So
Amazon, buy it on Amazon.
okay. So I hope that answers the question. All right, and then where can we find the nutritional information for growing the plants in terms of nitrogen, potassium, etc. for each plant? By Mr. Hamil.
So this is available on everyone's website. It's probably available on 100 blogs. See, again, guys, I'm sorry, I'm just jumping in right here because I'm leaving. So I'm going to just say one thing before I leave, is that these are all overthinking it. Aap shuru karo. Start. Kill a few plants. We'll be there telling you you're going to kill them. Kill a few plants, grow a few plants, do a few mistakes. Just start. Raju, thank you so much. I'm going to have to run. I have a
Please, no problem, no problem. I'm sure all have enjoyed the session. Thank you so much, Somveer sir. And you may please.
Before I go, thank you so much, guys. Geek Gardener, I've grown up seeing your videos. You were the first guy that we saw our system from. And Rahul, great work you're doing on aqua farms. I'm very, very happy with your stuff. Rupen, thank you once again for calling me. I will be slightly more presentable next time with a turban on. But thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And it was wonderful kind of meeting all of you.
Thanks for the wonderful session, Somveer.
Thank you, Somveer.
Bye.
Thank you. So I think viewers, we have had a great session today, and we will be remaining in touch with you. We will soon announce some very interesting, because hydroponics is so deep a subject, as probably you would have understood today. It cannot be done or understood in 1 hour or 2 hours. And if it is something that you really want to specialize in, or with the options that now that you have understood what it has to offer, we would like to custom make some of the training modules that we will share with you, whether it is for hobby, whether it is for commercial, and then depending on your interest and what you would like to do, kindly please join in for the training. We will be happy to have you again and see you soon. In the meantime, we have your contacts. We will will keep updating you with our ongoing sessions, which we will conduct with different other, eminent speakers who will guide us through on different topics. So if your interest is on, please do join us again, and also look forward to seeing you in the training. And then eventually our aim is to really you all also someday are entrepreneurs in hydroponics farming for the future and for India, which is really a need of the hour, because I see that there are probably only 10, 15 leading companies in India today, but by 2050, they say that, India definitely will be in demand of hydroponic farms. And if you have the patience and the vision to see through your passion for hydroponics, I'm sure it will be successful with the right guidance that you will gain. So we have people like Manikandan sir, Mr. Rahul Doka, Somveer sir, and who will assist in hand holding. And we look forward to remaining in touch with you. And have a lovely day ahead. Take care, stay safe, and look forward to see you again. Thank you,
Thank you.
Manikandan sir. Thank you, Mr. Rahul Doka, and Rupin. If you just want to share a few words.
No, it was really interesting. Thank you, Mr. Manikandan, Mr. Rahul, and Mr. Anand to be part of this initiative. And I'm sure this was very interesting for all the viewers and delegates who attended it. So we'll be coming out with more such series of seminars with more interesting topics, and look forward to have you again in the future topics. Thank you very much. Thank you, Laju.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.